was without his demon.
This must be what they do. This is what they take.
Why would they take someone's demon?
Because if you can remove someone's soul, you can do anything.
In this reality of his dark materials, the human soul is actually personified in the character of an animal that is with every single person.
Demons are the inside of us brought to life.
We should rest. If this evening goes as expected, we won't sleep for a while.
In Lyra's world, you cannot be a human if you haven't got a demon.
The demon is a reflection of self. And with Jack and with Jane, we realise that the demons, full stop, are a vital essence to this show. They add a third dimension to the show and another layer.
Isn't that something?
Once you get the idea of a demon, everyone wants to think about, what would my demon be? What would your demon be? And what would it feel like to have that constant companion and soulmate with you by your side the whole time?
Doing brilliantly. Just stay calm.
When you're young, your demon assumes many animal forms as you're growing up and you are still becoming who you are. Once you grow up, it assumes a final form.
And that shape that it changes on is really to do with who you are at your core.
If you are beholden to authority and have an obedient nature, your demon might assume a canine form. It tells us a lot about what kind of person you are.
I'd like to think I made my point.
And what point was that?
3 watches in a wallet.
It's the doubts inside us. It's the questions within us. Questions that might provoke us to good, questions that might provoke us to bad.
Lyra has a quite fun relationship with Pan. She's very close to him, but she just loves Pan so much, and that really shows you how much she loves herself.
The thought of Pam being cut from me. I could never be that far away from you, Lyra.
The relationship with Monkey is the key to who Mrs. Coulter is, and she doesn't really expose herself in a truthful way to many people. It's only with her demon that you're going to see that, and you're going to understand why she does these things, if ever at all. You know, it's like that's the key. And that journey between the two of them is how we're going to understand her throughout the series and see how she changes.
The bond between human and demon is incredibly powerful, quite beautiful, really.
The relationship with the demon is just a really lovely piece of imagination between the human and their soul.
You ever heard about dust? Dust? I'm guessing you don't mean the stuff we polish off.
Dust is basically what the whole show is about. That's the massive mystery.
Lyra, there are things that you're better off not understanding just yet.
What is dust? Big question that sort of fills the first season. And actually, that's really hard to explain.
Everyone's got a theory as to what dust is. At the beginning of this process, we wrote a 3-page essay on dust. I know that without it, the world doesn't operate.
We discover that dust means a lot of different things to different people.
We have an opportunity to understand dust.
Magisterium is more valuable than any of us.
The Magisterium believes that dust is sin, and the Magisterium is frightened of sin, that a world in which sin can be eradicated would be a better world.
Where does that light come from?
It isn't light, it's dust.
What's dust?
Any talk about dust is heretical, although, ironically, the Magisterium are also conducting their own secret experiments into dust, separating child and demon, and dust, therefore, never settles on the child.
Do something, Lyra!
Children have less dust around them than adults. So the idea that dust is sin is therefore provoked from that.
I wash regularly. You won't find any dust on me.
It's perhaps a little more complicated than you might think.
Mrs. Coulter wants to maintain innocence because with higher consciousness, you start to see the world more clearly, and it's frightening. Dust is not a good thing. Grown-ups are infected so deeply that it's too late for them.
Lyra goes on a journey which is fueled by curiosity of dust and what she heard her father say about it.
Let's go to the source. Let's ask what dust is. Maybe we'll find out that it's something else entirely. Maybe we'll find out that it is sin. How do you like the sound of that?
She wants to find out what dust is because she thinks that if adults are interested in it and believe it's bad, and she thinks it must surely be good.
She'd made a promise to Roger that she would find out what dust was, and if it was good, she'd protect it.
We gotta make sure they don't win.
People like Asriel celebrate original sin because it's what allows you to fall in love, it's what gives you curiosity, it's what fuels your imagination and creativity. Dust is really what makes us the human beings that we are.
What is it?
It's an alethiometer.
What does it do?
It tells you the truth.
The alethiometer is this object which helps you see the truth, but no one can actually read it. You have books of meanings and you have to sort of guess what it's saying. But Lyra somehow has been born with this gift where she can just read it by looking at it.
Lyra can read the alethiometer through the state of being a child, through a state of only being interested in the truth. She looks at the alethiometer with a simple heart and asks a simple question and often gets quite a complicated answer, but she can do it simply and straightforwardly. For the majority, the alethiometer is a very slow read. There's a character called Fra Pavel who works at the Magisterium. We saw him in the alethiometer room. Mrs. Coulter asks Fra Pavel, who is Lyra Belacqua. It will take him a long time. He will then have to look at all the books and interpret all the symbols and cross-reference and makes a really big do of it. There are many symbols on the alethiometer. Some of them we highlight. So, for example, there is a skull sitting on top of a timer, which means death. We never go into a huge amount of detail. The whole point is that you see a symbol and you can interpret it in many different ways.
The serpent for cunning, crucible for knowledge, beehive for hard work. It worked.
I think the alethiometer is so fascinating, this idea of having something that can tell you the truth. And like certainly now, when the world is full of lies and no one knows what a truth is anymore or what a fact is.
These books are for those who read alethiometers. The only alethiometers in use are sanctioned by the Magisterium.
You know, with a child who's coming into the adult world, how to negotiate adults that seem like they're always lying. But to have something that you can rely on to tell you the truth, I think that's really fascinating.
It's trying to tell me something else. It's trying to warn me of something.
I suspect it's trying to warn you of everything.